Hello, welcome to my channel. A few months back, my son-in-law was in Nashville, Tennessee. And while he was there, he ran across this place called Marathon Village. It was a collection of storefronts and small museums. And in one of the attractions, one of the little museums, was a place that had a whole collection of vintage machinery. Knowing that I'm into old machinery, old tools and stuff like that, he started taking pictures and emailing them to me. And I thought it might be something that you guys would enjoy. I have it here on my computer, and I'm just going to run through all the different photos I have. Like I said, this place was called Marathon Village. I have more information about that, and I'll tell you more about it as we get through these photos. Okay, the first photo here. The best I could tell is it's a rivet machine. It says on the side, I got this written down. It's in the casting. It says rivet machine. I can't tell what company it is, but I think it's a pretty cool machine. The next one, number 2, that's a camelback drill press. And them are primarily from the 1800s. And they were still being made in the 1970s, believe it or not. It looks like there's some parts missing to this one. The overhead pulleys and stuff. But most of it's there. Number 3, that's a horizontal mill. And here's a view from the other side. Right there. This is a pretty old one. It looks like it was from the late 1800s. I can't get a name off of it, but I remember running a horizontal mill, not much newer than this, probably the 1930s or so. It was a Brown and Sharp. We were making a gear. That's all I really remember. I was an apprentice then. That was back in the early 70s, late 60s. Okay, what's next here? It's number 4. That's a flat belt metal planer built by the Pond Machine Tool Company in the 1880s in Worcester, Massachusetts. That's a metal planer, I'm sorry. And that's an overhead crane right next to it. I remember using one just like that to unload trucks back in the late 60s. You know, it looks like right by the legs, there's a big chunk of the casting missing. Anyway, let's move on. Another camelback drill press. I have some history here to tell you about. It was manufactured by the Gannett Auto Manufacturing Company. That was in Chicago Heights, Illinois. And what I read is it closed its doors in the early part of 1940, only to open up again in 1941 or 42, I think they said, as a subsidiary to Cincinnati for the war effort. So, let's move on. Oh, here's something cool. An early model flat belt driven tilting table bandsaw. This is pretty big, but I would say for in those days, it's a medium-sized bandsaw. Okay, this was 1800s. I don't have a name here, but it's about a medium-sized flat belt driven lathe. Has a faceplate on there. There's a few other lathes I have pictures of. I wish he would have gotten more information, although it doesn't have any I don't see any plaque or anything that tells you anything about the machines. I'm sure if there was, he would have let me know. Okay, number 9. Oh, another vintage bandsaw. It's much bigger than the last one. I don't know if the table tilts or not, and that looks like a wood wheels on there where the blade would go. Pretty interesting. Number 10 is what they call a post drill or a wall drill. Used to be used by blacksmiths or on farms and stuff. This one looks like it's was flat belt driven, but a lot of them were manual. There was a big crank on them. But this one looks like it was belt driven. I have a few photos of this one machine from different angles. It appears to me that it's a multi-spindle screw machine, or early 1930s, 1940s screw machine, belt driven. And I have 3 different views here. Pretty interesting. Pretty heavy duty. Oh, this is a beautiful shot here. That's a South Bend, long bed, belt driven lathe. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on the right leg. If you really look close, if you can blow it up, it says South Bend lathe on it. In the left, in the corner there, that looks like it's an old heat treat, a gas-powered heat treat oven. But I can't be sure. We don't really have another picture of that. And on the right, it looks like a very early gas pump or some kind of pump. I imagine a fuel pump. Anyway, let's move on. You know, if you want more information about these machines, I kind of looked around, and your best source for machines, this old vintage machines, is www.vintagemachinery.org. Keith Ruckard's website. Great place. You can find pictures of all kinds of old machinery there, with a lot of information too. And if you know anything about the machines, you can add information to that website. It's pretty cool. Keith Rucker, you're probably all seen his YouTube channel, I mean. This is a vintage wood planer made by the Hall and Brown Woodworking Machine Company from St. Louis, Missouri. Another flat belt lathe, probably from the late 1800s, early 1900s. The design, the leg design, the casting, that's the design I chose to try to copy when I was making my mini lathe stand. Here, take a look at the legs on this stand. Okay, let's move on. Okay, number 15. This is a super heavy duty multi-spindle drill press. You would think that's for production. Anyway, okay, let's move on. This looks like it's about a 10-ton punch press. I've never seen a overhead belt, line shaft, flat belt punch press before. That is pretty interesting. And like I said, it looks like it's about a 10-ton. I have a 5-ton punch press, and it's just a little smaller than that. So I would think this is like a 10-ton. I would say this looks like a small tool room, vintage tool room lathe. There's no real information on it at all. I like that oil can that's in the background on the wall. But it looks like a small tool room lathe. Next. Now this is a strange drill press. It's super heavy duty, but the way the flat belts are spinning, it's not like your normal overhead, your line shaft belt. I don't know how this worked. I've never really seen one with the spindle attached right with the pulleys like that. Anyway, that is a pretty heavy duty drill press. I would have liked to see the way it's hooked up. Number 19, right next to that heavy duty drill press, it looks like this is a pretty good sized shaper. I remember running shapers. They would just run nice and slow, one chip at a time, while I run a lathe right next to it. I remember doing stuff like that. Them are pretty good, hefty machines. Another punch press. This one looks a little bit bigger. It looks like maybe a 15, maybe a 20-ton. But again, it's a line shaft driven flat belt. Really interesting. I have, like I said, I have a small 5-ton punch press that I always wanted to rebuild. That may be one of my projects. All right. This looks like a cylindrical grinder. Should say under Baxter D. Whitney and Son. That's a flat belt driven cylindrical grinder. Pretty cool. That looks super old. This little lathe was made by the Pratt & Whitney lathes. They were super precision toolmaker lathes. In fact, they were designed to do the most accurate tool room work. I'd love to have one of these. You know, at one time I used to have just a base. Nothing else, no spindle, no tailstock, and then just the base. I always wanted to look for the parts. That was a long time ago. That was in the 80s, 1980s. Don't know where any of that stuff went. Beautiful old table saw. This is a William H. Field Company table saw. A woodworking machine built and established. This company was established in 1880s. That again, too, I imagine would be a line shaft, but I can't see the pulley anywhere. I don't see a motor either, so 1880s, there's probably a line shaft. Beautiful, a lot of cast iron and wood. I'd love any of these machines in my shop. Okay, next. This looks like a medium-sized lathe, but it looks like it was mounted on those legs, like it was either a bench model and placed on this. Really interesting. Looks like it's in beautiful condition. And again, look at that oil can up to the left. Love those things. Oil cans. I have no idea what this machine does or what it is. If anybody recognizes this machine or has any idea what it is, put it in the comments. I'd be interested to know. I was going to leave it out, and I went, no, some people may know what it is. And mystery machine. Okay, that's it for the machines, pictures, photos of the machines. But I do have some information and some photos from the Marathon Village website. The Marathon Village actually was Marathon Automobiles. They built cars for maybe 3 years, and they were doing pretty good. It's just I don't think they could keep up with production, and eventually went out of business. Here are some of the photos of the building outside. And that is an old factory. It used to be Marathon Automobiles. And I think some of these machines were in that building from that manufacturer. So I hope you enjoyed the photo trip to the museum. And if you're ever in Nashville, Tennessee, check it out. And look in the description. You can find information, the website, the telephone number, everything you need to locate them. So I think this video is coming to an end. So I'm going to have to say, until next time, enjoy.